Our next presenter is a Zoom, and it's my pleasure to introduce this speaker. I first met Ivan about 4 years ago at a training like today's. And Ivan spoke on the impact pornography has on sex trafficking and provided new insights on that topic for me and many in that session that day. Ivan is going to share his expertise for about 25, 30 minutes, and then we'll have a 10-minute Q&A with Ivan before we move to lunch. Is Ivan in the house?
I am.
Welcome, welcome. And without anything else, I'll let you speak because you have so much to share with us. Thank you, Ivan.
My name is Ivan Divino. My company is called Personal Good Solutions. I have several different programs I teach, which is Thinking into Results. I do one-on-one coaching. I have a program called Think and Become Rich. I am DISC certified consultant. I am an executive director with the Maxwell team. I do a leadership game team training, and I do public and private keynote speaking. What I wanted to share with you today is information on what's happened to me throughout my lifetime. I am sharing a picture right now with, when I first spoke to you, this was my family, my wife and my children all together, but it has since now grown. I have now young men that have gotten married to my daughters and a young woman, and I am a proud grandfather. So I'm excited to share that with you here. What I wanted to share with you is I have been having the opportunity, I haven't done it in a while, COVID pretty much stopped all of that, but I was able to return to some of the schools on what does a healthy relationship look like. A healthy relationship begins with mutual respect, begins with trust and honesty, support, fairness and equality, and understanding that you have separate identities, and of course, good communication, which is extremely necessary to maintain a healthy relationship. All of those are necessary to have a healthy relationship, and not all of those are perfect at the same time. Some you do have to work at a little more than others, and it changes throughout your relationship that you have. This is what I begin with teaching children when I've been able to go into the elementary schools and middle schools, occasionally the high schools. And I continue to explain each and every one of those aspects to help them see what a healthy relationship begins with, because though they may not be in a relationship like a boyfriend or girlfriend at the time, but they do have relationships with their parents, with their teachers, and with their friends. And so I help them see what's valuable and important in their healthy relationships. What I wanted to also explain to you is when I was watching this video that we were watching earlier, it really hit home. It was such a good thing to be able to hear other men explain what happened to them with their exposure to pornography, and everything that they were saying is pretty much 100% true, because that is exactly what happened to me. I was exposed to pornography at a very young age. You see this picture here, that's me. That is a year older. I couldn't find the year picture before that, but that was a year older before I was exposed to pornography. And it was very similar to what the story of what he was sharing. It was during recess time. I was 7 years old, and we were playing tag in the yard, in the schoolyard. And a boy comes out in his jacket, and he pulls out the magazine. I don't recall what magazine it was, but he pulls out the magazine, and us as little children immediately encircle this magazine, and we start looking at all the pictures, and we start scrolling it, and we're little boys, and we're laughing at what we see, pointing and joking around. Little did I know that it was creating dopamine in my system and expecting me to become excited over it. We finished watching it, the bell rang, all done. Well, he was pretty popular that day, and he brought another magazine the next day. And we continued to do that several different times. After that, second magazine, I paid attention to the title, to the name of that magazine. It made an impact on my head. Next time I would go to the bookstore, see, there was a bookstore not far from my home. And up at the high shelf, above my level of reach, were all those magazines displayed. And I noticed it. It made an impact on me, and I paid attention to it. Well, after that, every once in a while, we'd find magazines in the alleys or at a friend's house, just like that gentleman said on the video. And I wanted to see it. I would do whatever I could to get a hold of those magazines and pay attention to that. I quickly became addicted to it, that by the time I was in middle school, I would stay up late and try to look at pornography on the cable networks. I would seek magazines. I would steal magazines. I would do whatever was necessary to be able to see that information. And it quickly started distorting my view on girls, just like that man said. I wanted to act out just like that man said, exactly the same way. It's like he was reading my story. What I explain to children is that studies show that 12 to 14-year-olds exposed to the most sexual content in movies, music, magazines, television, and on the internet were 2.2 times more likely to have had sexual intercourse when re-interviewed 2 years later than their peers who had a lighter sexual media diet. So that basically is saying this study, which was done years ago, it hasn't even been a recent study, shows that when children, both boys and girls, are exposed to pornography, it leads them to sex. It leads them to want to engage in sexual activities. See, boys start thinking this is what they want, and this is what they want in women. And girls start thinking this is how they are supposed to act and be in order to get boys to like them. And the cycle begins with all of them. Hollywood has such a huge influence in pornography. This is a Spider-Man movie that came out several years ago, but it's all over TV shows and movies that we watch. In the movie, Peter Parker is with his friend. And in his friend, they both joke about the pornography in his friend's computer and how it's okay to watch. I remember growing up and seeing, this was in 4th grade, there was a little school carnival. And in that school carnival, you could win some posters to hang up on your wall. So you had to play the game and win the posters. And one of those posters, if you recall, anyone who's my age, was the Farrah Fawcett Majors poster. It's an iconic poster now. It's considered a classic. What would a 9-year-old boy want with that poster? Because it was a highly sexualized poster. And I was able to win it. I did what I could to win that poster and hang it up on my wall. But no, not on my bedroom wall. I hid it up on my closet wall because I knew it was just too much to be considered just a regular child's poster. I hid it from my parents. They didn't know. But Hollywood is promoting pornography in children at a young age and making it seem normal for people to engage in pornography. Both men and women together in married couples, they sensationalize it and make it think it's okay to do. See, when you start viewing images on your computer, those images are stored on the hard drive that can be later retrieved. And we know that about computers. Even if the images are deleted and the hard drive is reformatted, the images are still there and can be viewed with recovery software. Your mind is like a computer hard drive, but infinitely more powerful and sophisticated. When you view images on a computer, on a video, or in a magazine, those images cause the release of adrenaline into the bloodstream, which causes the brain to imprint the images on the mind, becoming stored data that can be recalled at any time you want them to or not. So here's what I tell children. I could be cooking dinner. I could be chopping up some onions, getting ready to eat that burger, and an image of something I saw when I was younger pop up into my head. Yeah, get out. Stuff that I've been accustomed to viewing is still here. And I have to make an intentional decision to get it out. It is true what that gentleman said. It starts with pictures or viewing videos, and now it's 10 times worse. And then it leads to action, first physically with yourself, and then it leads to action physically to try to simulate what you were viewing. And it leads to abusing women, and it leads to strip clubs, and it leads to peep shows and all the things to get you to do and bring that adrenaline back to what it is that you had. It's addictive. See, it's hormonal. It's because it's addictive. It releases dopamine and release the initial thought from the sexual image is given momentary attention. And then it releases oxytocin because the action is carried out from the image viewed. And it's a binding hormone. And then it creates norepinephrine, which is connected with memory. And it hooks you to those memories that create pleasure. Those are the same hormones that are produced when you take drugs. You know, we hear about all of these cases that are put on the news about publications and the different problems that are affecting human trafficking, where men are being found out to have pictures in their computers and they're selling these pictures, and it's all in regards to pornography. But I'm talking about, what about the unreported cases? We only have a tiny little bit of reported cases. What about the unreported cases where two men sentenced to multiple life sentences for enticing women to South Florida to engage in commercial acts and distributing date rape pills? All of that comes from pornography. A mom in Iowa, this is an attorney in Iowa, travels back and forth to Vegas to engage as a prostitute, to engage in human trafficking, to engage in sexual relations for money as a side gig. She is married and has children, and she does this. And she is working in Iowa to legalize prostitution as a viable income for women. And she is out there promoting this. Here in Dubuque, I am not afraid to share who actually is engaged in stuff. Christopher Frummo. He's a Dubuque photographer accused of giving minors meth and then taking pictures while having sex. I know people who knew him, and he did this throughout school. See, sex trafficking is a big business. We know this. It generates 99 billion, and it's probably way more than that, just from commercial sexual exploitation alone. Now, what about social media? How does social media come into play? Because it begins with Instagram and Twitter. The amount of girls on Instagram taking pictures of themselves in provocative manner and then leading them to TikToks so that then they can get money while just talking to hundreds of people. On TikTok, a girl can be on there live and she is receiving gifts, which are then turned into money to do poses or to be jumping up in sexual ways to be able to get more money. And then they have links to other sites where they can then show more information. Sure, you have to be of 18 or older, but there are teenagers on there using fake profiles, making money doing these things, pushing the limits of what they're allowed to do. But they are highly enticed by the amount of money that they are receiving. So you can go to Twitter and quickly pick up a link to other sites that are pornography sites. You can go to Instagram and pick up a link that will quickly take you to pornography sites. You can go to TikTok, pay money, and then they tell you, hey, go to this other site, which I'm about to show you. And for a small fee, you can subscribe to me and do this. There was a young lady that I saw in a podcast interview that is making $50,000 a month doing these kinds of things. And she was only 22. OnlyFans. OnlyFans is a website that was created in the UK. It was an intention for a subscription-based service that is primarily used by sex workers who produce pornography. Now, it also hosts a lot of other content creators and musicians and celebrities. For example, the Kardashians have OnlyFans accounts. And we know that they popularize pornography. And they are making millions. With an OnlyFans reporting an increase in signups since early March 2020. It is a platform that you maybe have heard about. But however, there are concerns on the dark side of it because more underage young people are using this platform to sell sexually explicit content of themselves for money. And they are making a lot of it. They can sell a subscription for a simple $40 a month, and they'll have over 1,000 subscribers. So an 18-year-old girl or boy, because it's both, could be making $1 million within a year. With barriers joining OnlyFans, young people might look for alternatives. And here are some popular ones to look out for, because these are also increasing, which is Patreon, FanView, and Fansly. It is an epidemic, and we are just scratching the surface. You can go into any youth group, and they will know about this information. It is not hidden. It is passed around between teenagers like gum that you used to pass around when you were children. They think it's funny. They don't have an issue with it. Girls used to think this stuff was gross. Now they promote it within themselves. They are recruiting themselves to do this. One will start and share how much money they're making, and the others will join. You can find 2 or 3 girls together doing these hour-long shows. and making a lot of money doing it. So what do? I agree with what the video said. We have to tell the truth. We have to expose it. We have to have men and women share their experiences to stop the secrets and reveal how it affected them in their lives. And we must expose the evil. Be vocal about how the porn industry is a leading cause of sex trafficking. It leads young men and women into the sex trafficking arena because it normalizes what they believe is okay in sexual relationships. In regular, healthy relationships, they are telling people that to have a healthy relationship, you should bring pornography into your relationship because it helps your sexual part of your relationship. But it does not. It destroys it. It manipulates it. It makes men want their spouses to behave in ways that is not healthy. It makes men think women are supposed to act in a sexual way, and when they don't, it gets boring. And it makes women believe that they have to act in a sexual way. That is the fun way to act. We must join forces. We must join forces with all of the other coalitions that are here and become a unit of vocal expression within our own communities, school districts, government. It begins by educating what really happens to people. Because divided we fall, but united we will persevere. And the second thing we have to do is we have to kill the income. That is what drives it. It's money. It's all about the money. We have to find ways to hurt the fuel that feeds the fire. That is what will help us win this war. A war that is very difficult to fight. Now, again, I was able to share my story. I was able to share what it is that happened to me physically and how it destroyed my family. Because, see, I didn't stop viewing pornography until 1995. I started in 1973, and I was probably exposed to that even before that as a child in my home. And didn't really pay attention to it then, but I was already imprinted with some images in my mind. I remember as a little child seeing a poster of a naked woman in my uncle's room. But it destroyed my marriage, my first marriage, because I was addicted to pornography. I created such unhealthy habits of what it was like to be in relationships. And I spiraled downward. And yes, the deviations do begin. They start simple, and then the deviations of sexual interest span out. Like tree roots, you fall into different areas of interest. And I didn't change until I came to Christ in 1995, and I was exposed to the truth of what it does to women and what it did to me, and how unhealthy I was, and how I was, until I figured this out and became aware of it, how I too could then accomplish having healthy relationships. But that's how it begins. That's how we can get our inroad into the school districts, by explaining what healthy relationships truly are. I really appreciate this time to share my story and share with you what it is that we could possibly do to help others against human trafficking.